A former teacher who says he reported the rape of a student by a Catholic brother and assistant principal of Purcell High School 41 years ago shares his story for the first time tonight. He believes local church leaders covered up abuse and that a cloak of secrecy still exists in the Catholic Church. Investigative reporter Paula Christian has part 2 of our I-Team investigation, Culture of Silence. She explains how the church moves credibly accused priests and brothers. Paula?
That term, credibly accused, is key here. Each diocese determines exactly what it means. In the Archdiocese of Cincinnati, credibly accused means an accusation of abuse is more likely true than not after the Archdiocese investigates and reviews the facts.
He was a young science teacher in 1978 at the all-boys Purcell High School.
At first it was disbelief, but then I thought, oh my God, here it is again.
He says a sobbing student came to him with a shocking story.
And he said, Brother Frank Russell raped me. And I said, what?
He's sharing his story for the first time with the 9 on Your Side I-Team. He's requesting anonymity because he says he also experienced sexual abuse as a child at the hands of a priest. When he encountered abuse again some 40 years ago, this time as a teacher at the Catholic school, he says he reported it to the school right away.
Brother Frank Russell was in charge of detention, and we learned from this student that Brother Russell would take students, those who had misbehaved, to a local motel and have sex with them.
The Marianas province denied seeing a report back then. The former teacher identified Russell from this Purcell yearbook photo from classmates.com. He says Russell never returned to Purcell after the teacher reported abuse in 1978. He says the principal told him Russell went to Boston. But the I-Team discovered Russell actually stayed in the tri-state, becoming principal of another high school, according to the spokeswoman for the Marianas Congregation of the Roman Catholic Church. Stories similar to Russell's still occur. Some victims say the Catholic Church still covers up sexual abuse at the hands of priests and brothers. Christy Miller co-founded the local chapter of a national support group for priest abuse survivors called SNAP. As a survivor of priest abuse herself, she says there's a pattern to how Catholic leaders move credibly accused priests.
These men were moved, often, very often. Every time another allegation came forward, they were moved to another church.
In Brother Russell's case, the Marianists have kept the public in the dark because they do not publish a list of credibly accused brothers. A spokeswoman for the Marianists tells the I-Team it did receive credible allegations of sexual abuse while Russell was at Purcell in the late 1970s, but it did not receive them until 1994, after Russell's death, and it never told the public until we asked 25 years later. Once Russell left Purcell, he worked for the Diocese of Covington. In 1983, before retiring, the diocese named him interim principal of Holy Cross High School in Latonia, Kentucky.
Which meant that our report never made its way. It was never documented. Or it was documented and it's not open to the public.
Some local Catholics have similar concerns about Father Jeff Drew. 1,300 people signed a petition last month demanding a Vatican investigation. They say the Archdiocese of Cincinnati ignored complaints about Drew's behavior long before his August arrest for rape. The Archdiocese of Cincinnati would not go on camera to talk about Drew. Drew has pleaded not guilty. Using church records, the I-Team discovered a similar pattern to what Christy Miller describes. Some of the same schools and churches where Drew worked are places where other accused priests were assigned over the years. For example, Drew taught music from 1988 to 1991 at Elder High School. The Vatican removed from priesthood 3 other priests who worked there over allegations of sexual misconduct.
We also found that they ended up together in other parishes. You have to figure that where the pastors of these churches also knew that this was going on.
Drew was also a music minister at St. Jude's Church from 1984 to 1999. Prosecutors say that's where he repeatedly raped an altar boy. Father Keith Albrecht, seen here in this photo from bishopaccountability.org, was at St. Jude's at the same time. Albrecht was also credibly accused of sexual abuse, and in 2005, the church removed his rights to minister.
They had to know that this was happening, and they just turned their heads. And I think that's exactly what happens today.
Attorney Conrad Kircher has represented 90 abuse survivors in suits against the Catholic Church in Ohio from the early 2000s up until now. If the allegations against Father Drew are true, Kircher said he is certain that more victims are out there.
You know, victims deal with things in very different ways. Some may come forward next year, some may come forward 20 years from now, some may never come forward.
He believes there are fewer victims of priest abuse today because of more public awareness and not because of anything the Catholic Church has done.
Systemically, nothing has changed in the Catholic Church.
That's exactly what the former Purcell teacher believes, who reported abuse 4 decades ago.
It's no different now than it was in the 1960s. The abuse and the cover-up continues to this day.
That teacher says he was abused by Father John Burning in the late 1960s. He says he reported it, but Burning stayed at St. Margaret's Church. 35 years later, in 2003, the church placed Burning on leave for abuse allegations. He was 96. Paula Christian, 9 on your side.
Paula, thanks so much for your reporting. If you or someone you know is a survivor of sexual abuse and you need help, we do have a list of resources right now for you on WCPO.com. Also there, you can read more about what Paula found in secret church documents.